Hello, everyone. I got to interview two talented City College students about creativity production and how they feel.
My name is Joshua Hernadez, and I'm a filmmaker.
My name is Carla Nicholson. I'm 26 years old. I make most of my money modeling.
When you hear the word creative production, what comes to your mind?
The creativity production almost gives me a sense of like the behind the scenes of any of those things. So not stepping away from modeling, but I think when you just go on set as the model, you're not as involved in that creativity production process. But the creativity production sounds a little bit more behind the scenes and planning, kind of pre-production, or finding and editing post-production.
From before and then now of how we see production or anything really in the creativity world, how has it changed to you in a way that you're seeing it?
For Gen Zers is they get a little bit more of that message of you can be whatever you want to be, shoot for the stars. There are unconventional jobs now. And we got a little bit of that as millennials, but not quite as much as Gen Zers did. There's kind of a pressure to it too, because the market is becoming oversaturated. There's a lot of competition and that can be super discouraging. I think it's a little bit of an uphill battle with a lot of hope. I just really want creativity to take in more seriously generally as a career. I think we're moving toward less creative jobs that people do not want to have are more automated, so that there's more room for creatives to share kind of what makes humans humans, this creative spark. It's like the prefrontal cortex at its best. It's play. When people are their most secure and happy, well, and sometimes sad, but when humans are being humans, that's when creativity strikes, and that's art.
I think looking at the way the industry used to work and how it works now, this is like the perfect opportunity for minorities and women, people who previously didn't have an opportunity. Past, you look at old Hollywood, it was a lot of old white guys and a lot of white women. And now you've got a little bit more representation in terms of all the different people that are able to do this for a living and able to tell their stories. LGBTQ, Hispanics, Black people, everybody, Asians. It's a great time to be in the entertainment industry. Back in the day, like if you didn't have access to the equipment, film stock, it was a very prohibitively expensive thing to do. And nowadays, like you could buy a very good camera for like $200, $300, or even with your phone and just go out there and start shooting. So in many respects, if you don't take advantage of all the opportunities that are out there, I think there's a lot of doors that are closed, but they're easily opened if you just keep working the system, if you will.
How do you feel for this new generation?
There is a great level of representation that previously there wasn't. So I think that the new generation of filmmakers definitely have to take it in a new direction. Just like the difference between old Hollywood and new Hollywood during the 60s and 70s. It was in many ways a reaction to what was going on in old Hollywood at the time, the 40s and 50s. The new generation right now has to be a reaction to the previous generation from the 70s and the 80s, the 90s. One of the things that you see in the entertainment industry is this shift from the big screen to the smaller screen. The opportunities for greater storytelling in TV, that's something that filmmakers need to take advantage of. There's always been this like mystique or magical way of seeing the big screen. And if you weren't on the big screen, you weren't doing the right type of movie making, or you weren't technically Hollywood. And that's slowly changing. I think if you don't look at those changes in technology and how TV and even online media is the future, the new generation has to take advantage of those emerging markets that previously weren't there.
I definitely think this generation is improving. People are so much more open-minded, although there is still prejudice and obviously racism and institutionalized racism. The awareness, we're planting the seeds now that I think are going to grow later.
How do you put your own personal self into this field? How do you want the world to see you?
I want the world to see me spontaneous, creative that I am, can be a voice for the value of creativity and the fostering of creativity, worthwhile for society. Why don't we play with each other in this creative, artistic space that makes people feel seen?
I grew up around a lot of gang activity. And then also more recently, about 4 years ago, I lost my dad. He just passed away from old age. And that sort of made me a better filmmaker. It made me realize that the key is in the human emotion. It's in connecting with that human element in order to tell good stories. And, it's a lot of different things. Most of my early work is comedic. And I think horror is kind of the same way too, like telling the story in good timing. And that's how I take my personal life experiences and doing something with my work.
Thank you to Joshua Hernandez and Carla Nicholson for doing this podcast interview with me. I hope you guys enjoyed it.